Okay, are we ready to get started? I like that enthusiasm from the front row. Thank you. Okay, imagine this. You're all here at Dreamforce. Your expectations are high. I mean, look around you. Look what you've seen already. Either you came in with expectations or you got them pretty quickly once you got here. But imagine if I were to tell you that we weren't going to have any keynotes this Dreamforce. No new product announcements, no new service announcements. We have no innovations because we haven't delivered a single feature that's production ready in over a year. Now, before you head for the door and ask for a refund, I can guarantee you that will not be your experience at this Dreamforce or any Dreamforce to come. But I will tell you, we found ourselves in that very predicament 10 years ago. So let me take you on a bit of a brief journey back in time to kind of tell you how we got there and how we'll never get there again. Before we go too far, if you haven't seen this slide yet, you'll see it for the next few days. Basically, all it means is don't make any purchasing decisions based off of what I'm about to tell you today. Base it off of things that are already commercially available. Okay, so back in the early days when we were a pretty small technology company, everything was pretty easy. Everyone sat in the same room. Communication came naturally. Collaboration came naturally. We were cranking out products and features all the time. At that point in time, we were delivering to our customers 4 times a year. Probably if you've been in a startup or a small company, you know all this just pretty much comes naturally. But as we started to grow, and we had the success of getting more customers, hiring more engineers, our customers multiplied, our engineer base multiplied, things started to slow down. Our rapid growth and success also led to quite a few growing pains. Communication became much more strained. It was difficult to get things done. We were no longer able to lean over to our neighbor next to us. Now we were talking through email, delays, days of delays. So we had miscommunication and we had a lack of communication. Priorities were also becoming unclear. We had multiple, well, not multiple, like now hundreds of customers with competing priorities. Our teams didn't have really clear priorities, and it was very difficult to know and have visibility into those priorities and what people were doing, as well as into the progress around our releases. Tons of dependencies. So again, come more customers, come more people, dependencies are everywhere. All of this really led to us being, sorry, this is going 2 at a time. Okay, all of this really led to us being very unpredictable in our release schedule. Remember, I told you at one point we were delivering 4 times a year to all of our customers. We had slipped releases. We had no idea when the next release was going to come. When the releases slipped, people shoved more code in, so causing further problems and exacerbating the situation. So, as you can see here, our time in between major releases greatly increased. We found ourselves in 2006 at a point where we went 15 months without delivering a single release. Imagine if we did that to you today. Customers were unhappy. Our salespeople were unhappy. They didn't know what to sell or who to sell to. Our engineers were very unhappy. As any engineer knows, like when your code doesn't see the light of day, morale is down. So we had a big problem on our hands, and we needed a solution. So for us, Agile was, and still remains today, our solution. We are now celebrating our 10-year anniversary of our Agile rollout, and we are now highly predictable. As you can see here, the days in between major releases has no variability. Those dates are known to you years in advance. We know that they're going to happen. We don't know exactly what's going to be in them, but we know the dates that they're going to happen and that they're going to be of high quality. Okay, now let's get back to today and to you. I talk to customers, my team talks to customers like you all the time who are looking at going Agile, already in an Agile transformation, and really want advice. And what we've done is basically compiled all of those most frequently asked questions into what I'm going to cover today, as well as a few key points that I think are essential for everybody to take away. So the 4 main areas that I'm going to cover today include our secret sauce. How do we go about delivering our products and services? How do we maintain super high quality standards that we never waver on? Our ohana, or our culture. It is extremely important to us that we have happy employees, and I want to share with you some of our key innovation programs and how we retain our top talent. And then back to you. I want you to walk out of here with something that you can actually take back and apply. So whether you're years down your Agile journey or you're just thinking about it, I want to give you a few tips that you can walk away with. Sound good? There is a mic in the middle of the room. If you have burning questions in the middle, feel free. Otherwise, I'll save time at the end for some questions. Okay, so just a quick background on me. I've been at Salesforce now for 9 years in our technology and products organization. I have a background in, everyone's looking at the side of the wall to see if it's gonna fall through. Is it? Holy sh. Feels like an earthquake. Like, this is still shaking. Yeah, what are they saying? That was all planned. All okay? Not an earthquake? A forklift. Yes, you all deserve a lot of thanks for being here while Tony Robbins is on. So I appreciate that. Okay, we'll continue. So a little bit on my background. I've been a release manager, a program manager, a product manager, a Scrum master. So I've kind of seen all aspects of the software delivery cycle. And right now, well, before I get there, like the first time I was introduced to Agile, my mind was kind of blown. And I feel like it still kind of is. I believe in this so much, and I thought back to all the times in my career and all the projects that I had been through that didn't see the light of day or that were released a year after they were supposed to. And once I learned about what Agile is and what it could do, I wanted to go back and redo all of those projects with my newfound knowledge. So I believe in it, I'm passionate about it, and I really feel like it's applicable to pretty much everything in your life. You can plan a move using Agile, plan a wedding, run your household. I know families that do regular retrospectives. I have a Kanban wall at my house that's a little hidden, but it's true. So I really haven't found anything yet where I don't feel like it's applicable. I have the amazing job right now of running our Agile program in technology and products. So that's an organization today of about 5,000 people. And my team is there to provide education, coaching, and to really look at how we can continue to scale our organization. We didn't start out as 5,000 people or 400 teams, but we've gotten there and we've had to evolve our Agile program along the way. We've also made a heavy investment in the Agile program. I have 13 people on my team dedicated to the organization to support them, and we're continuing to grow. So let me get into the details of what our Agile implementation actually looks like. So I want to kind of give you a background around how we're structured, how our teams are organized, and then we'll get into how we actually build product. So there are 3 pillars to what's key. We have principles, values, and practices. All 3 are key. Without one of them, things begin to fall apart. And what we really look at is how can you be more agile? Where I feel like people kind of fall down a little bit is they get into the practices and they're really focused on doing agile. You can read it, like Scrum is very prescriptive. You can read about it in any book and you can follow those steps. But when you aren't really looking at the values and practices and the meaning behind it and why you're doing these things, that's where you don't get the full effectiveness out of it. So let me get into what our 7 key principles are that are really key to the foundation of our implementation. These are also, if you look up Lean, very similar. You don't have to recreate the wheel. You can steal things that are already out there that make a lot of sense to you. So respect people. Hire people and empower them to do the right thing. Push decision-making down as far as possible. Build quality in. Go back. Build quality in. You'll see many examples today and some few specifics around why quality is our number 1. We don't waver on quality. More features are not more important than having top-notch quality. Okay, so we believe that everything we do, we have to have the trust of our customers. Quality comes first. Sorry about this. Things are jumping. Create knowledge. Expand people's knowledge. Like, expose them to different ideas. Avoid that single source of failure by having 1 or 2 people hoard all of the knowledge. Let people do things that aren't really in their realm of expertise, but they can grow and learn. Deliver fast. Always be delivering something of customer value. If you aren't delivering that of customer value and you aren't seeing it on a regular basis, question it. With Scrum teams, we want to see something at least every 2 weeks. With Kanban teams, even more regularly. But get it in people's hands, let them feel it and test it out, and then you can react to it and iterate. Eliminate waste. So again, around customer value. When executives ask me, how can I make my teams go faster? How can I make their velocity increase? They're generally surprised when I first go to eliminate some sort of waste in the system. Where do you have excessive handoffs? Where are there delays? Are you looking at rework? Even meetings that are ineffective lead to waste in your system. So take a look there and try and minimize that. Optimize the whole. When you look at an orchestra, they need everyone in that orchestra playing their part in order to make the music the way that they want to. So look at your overall system end to end instead of optimizing for one element. And then finally, just-in-time decisions. Make decisions at the last responsible moment. If there's a decision that you don't need to make for 6 months, hold off on it because you'll have more information in the meantime in order to make that decision. So these are our principles. They are strewn throughout our organization, kind of embedded in everything that we do. So think about your own organizations. Do you have principles that everyone's aligned on? If not, could you put some in place? So let's get into a little bit of the details of more of the how we operate. So again, we have 400 teams, and when I say agile teams, a team is comprised of a few key roles. A product owner, who is the one who's the visionary. They're saying what is necessary, what functionality is necessary, what do my customers need. They're ruthlessly prioritizing for their teams on what's most important to build. The team itself, in our situation, is a cross-functional group of 5 to 7 people, plus or minus 2, that are all the people necessary in order to get the work done. So we have engineers. We don't differentiate between dev and QE. We have a hybrid role, so everyone on the team needs to do what they need to do to get the work done. They do development work and they do testing work. If you're in an organization that has separate dev and testers, just bring them as close together as possible. Other members in the team include user experience designers, performance engineers, and user-facing documentation writers. So bring the entire team together in order to get the work done. And then we have a Kanban or Scrum Master, really the one who's there to coach the team, guide them in best practices, and really make sure that they're continuously improving their processes. We try and keep our teams together as long as possible, so they're not project-based. The longer they're together, the more effective they're going to be. We are structured into clouds or product lines. Probably familiar with the Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud. All of our clouds have somewhere between 5 and 25 teams, depending on the cloud. Those teams are generally feature-focused. So they have specific feature areas within that product line that they're focused on. And then every cloud has a leadership level that has a functional representative from each of the functions that exist on the teams. They kind of operate like their own little business units. They have their own headcount, they have their own funding, they have their own revenue goals. But they are very closely tied to all the rest of the clouds to make sure that we're in alignment in how we're operating across the organization. Okay, so let me go into a bit of detail around how we go from a big vision idea all the way down to how does something get implemented as a feature in the teams. This is our planning onion, and we'll get down to some more granular levels as we move throughout. So we have a 3 to 5 year long-range plan. This would come from Mark Benioff and the executive team around where are we headed? What is our vision as a company? What is that long-range plan? And then we take that and look at what is our 1-year plan. So what are we going to do this year in order to start achieving the goals for our long-range plan? Has anyone heard of the V2 Mom yet? A little bit. Okay, if not, you can look it up. Mark seems to talk about it a lot, and this is just a key piece for us. The V2 Mom is an acronym that essentially is about our goals for the year. It really sets the vision. What do you want to do this year? Values. What are you going to use in order to, what's important for you to get there? You'll hear over and over, trust is and has been, as long as I've been here, our #1 value. We want trust in our customers, trust in everything that we do. So be like, what are the values that are important to you? And methods are, how are we going to get there? What things do we want to do in order to achieve those? How are we going to measure it? What's going to stand in our way? We use this all throughout the company. Mark Benioff has a V2 Mom. Every individual in the organization has a V2 Mom. And they better align up to that broader cause. So we look at that to say, what am I going to do this year? And how does that relate up to our bigger plans around achieving the goals for the overall company? So as you saw before from the structure, every cloud has a V2 Mom. Every product team has a V2 Mom. So always aligned, always recalibrating back to that bigger picture. And once we have that plan for the year, we then start looking at, okay, in the next release or 2 releases, what do we need to do in order to start achieving those goals for the year? So you can see there's a pattern here, and you get more granular as we go. So across the organization, we have team-level release plans, we have cloud-level release plans, and then looking across the entire tech and products plan for 2 releases. We want to make sure that we are, again, optimizing for the whole. We want to look at what one team is doing and make sure we have a vision of what they're going to be doing and how does that contribute to the broader goals. So this is just a quick example showing that 1 release out is about what is a team planning to do. Based on their best knowledge, what are they going to do in the next release? And then 2 releases out is a bit more conceptual, like here's our priorities of what we would like to accomplish. We review these as an organization and make sure that there's alignment. And then you go down to your iteration or sprint, and then your daily plans. Those are the team level, more granular planning sessions. I'm not going to go into a lot around Scrum. Most of our teams are operating in a Scrum framework. You can look up these details. Generally, more people are familiar, so I don't want to go into too much detail, but I do want to cover a few key areas here in that where we kind of see teams break down in their practices. The product backlog, ruthlessly prioritized. We're often hearing from people like, well, I have 5 priority ones. Well, you can't do that. You have to choose. You have to pick one, and you have to, yes, I see some thumbs up. This is always a hard one. So that is their job. That's the product owner jobs to ruthlessly prioritize. Then the team makes the decision at a sprint level of what they can really commit to in those. It's 2 weeks for the majority of our teams. We recommend as short a sprint as possible. And that's the team level decision. It's not the tech lead. It's not the smartest person on the team. It's not the manager deciding what can get done in a sprint. It's the team. Then the daily meeting is a meeting. It's basically a planning meeting and a realignment meeting, not a status meeting. The demo. Demo is critically important. Again, back to showing and delivering fast. Instead of just telling people what got done, show it. Let people get their hands on it, experience it, and provide that feedback. All of the Scrum ceremonies are really important, but the one that's often missed is the retrospective. It's so critical to have teams constantly inspect and adapt their processes to continue to get better. That's where you're, again, getting into that being agile versus just the doing. So just as we plan at the various levels of granularity, we also then take a look back and recalibrate our plans. We don't want to make a plan and look 1 year in advance and say, we're going to do absolutely all of that. I don't know if you're sitting there thinking, like, that's waterfall written all over it. No, we constantly are recalibrating and making sure that our priorities are still in sync. So I went through the team level areas that they go through in their Scrum process. But we also have this recalibration at the cloud level. So our clouds are looking at a weekly basis at that leadership level. They're syncing. How are we doing? Are we on track? They're looking at the metrics. Is there anything that is alarming that we need to address sooner rather than later? Monthly, they're doing end-to-end demos. Back to that optimize the whole. Really looking across the entire cloud, how is the system operating? And seeing it, again, with the demos. And then release planning that we spoke about. Then at an organizational level, we also have these checkpoints in place. There's a release health check every week. Our release management team, along with our leadership, sit there and look at the overall health of our release, like across the entire code line, to determine what's going on. Are our metrics okay? Are our automation levels okay? Do we have too many bugs? And really looking at things early and often to address any issues right away. Again, we talked about the 2 releases that we look at, right? As a team, as a cloud, and then as the organization. So they're looking at these to really gather alignment along the way. We also have an Agile Health Survey. We want to make sure that the things we have in place are actually working. And if they're not, what do we need to do in order to fix them? Our Agile implementation has grown along these 10 years, as I was explaining, so we have to constantly be updating and adapting as well. That health survey really allows us to do that. And then at the executive level, we go back to that V2 MOM that we set and really do some checkpoints. How are we progressing? Are our priorities still the same? Do they need to change? And looking at the metrics that we set to determine whether or not we're on track. Okay, so I've kind of been trickling quality throughout, but I want to hone in on a few specific areas where we are really focused on quality. We have a single definition of done across the entire organization. Now we look at getting to done on a few different levels again. So there's a story level definition of done around a particular piece of work. There's a sprint level definition of done and a definition of done for a release. This span here you see are the various categories in which we have metrics. For example, we have automation numbers around minimum numbers around our code coverage. We have insurance around having acceptance criteria at a story level. Before you close anything, you cannot have a P0, P1, or P2 bug attached to it. These are standards that we've set in place, and we don't waver on these. And this is one point where we have the luxury of having our executive team and all of our leadership highly in support of these. These aren't questionable. The minute you start to kind of waver on whether or not these are really important, people will take advantage of it. Does everyone have a definition of done? No. You can use ours as a starting point. And I can even provide more details on the exact checklist as well. And before this was really built into our DNA, we actually made teams show them at each sprint review. So they had a full checklist showing which pieces of their feature was done and which was not. And that led to a really great conversation where we would force people to go back and make sure that they complete the work already in progress before moving on to additional features. Stop the code line. If we have teams that have too many test failures or their test failures have been in the system for too many days, we block the entire team out from checking in any more code until those test failures are fixed. So it is automated at this point. We've really progressed on that one, of course, along the way. But again, just another point where we draw that hard line in the metric in the sand, and you can't get around it. Finish what's in the system first before trying to build more features. So along the way, you've seen that at a sprint level, through definition of done, teams are getting to done along the way. A quick view of our release cycle here. We also have a heavy investment in continuous integration and performance testing all along the way to make sure that we're looking at the entire system. We also have a hard date around a feature freeze, where new and more features can get into a release. Features that are not done, they just go into the next code line. It's fine. There's a train coming in another 4 months that they can get on. And any incomplete features that are not ready for production, same thing. They go into the next code line. Only everything that's ready to go is going to make it into that release. We then release to our internal instances so that everyone internally can test it out before it gets out to you. And then we have this final release freeze. We then do our staggered releases to all of our customers, again, just so that we can look and see if there's anything that snuck out, and we address it quickly before it gets out to everybody. This is kind of how we look and do these steps along the way to gradually ensure that you have nothing but high-quality code in your hands. Okay, one moment, please, while you look at my daughter. Don't worry, I won't start from the beginning. Okay, sorry for that interruption. Okay, again, want to highlight a few things about our culture that are really key programs that we have in place that inspire innovation and really help retain our top talent. One is opportunity open market. Far left there. Essentially, it's an internal job fair that we have every release where people promote any job openings that they have in their teams. So one, it provides a way for teams to move into another area of our code base, into another product line, and really expose them and help them expand their knowledge. But what it also does is it exposes people's pride in their teams. As you can see there, people create these booths around how cool their team is to work for and try to draw people in. So it also turns into this every release celebratory party event, which is pretty special. PT on, paid time on. Similar to Google's 20%, we have 8 days a year where people can essentially work on anything that they want. They can hack, build an app, go to a webinar, read a book. We really just want to give people time to expand their minds and step out of their day-to-day. Hack days probably don't need too much explanation, but we have them. We do them regularly. Sometimes there are themes. There are always rewards and fun demos. And then we have monthly tech talks where we have internal or external speakers come in and provide either inspiration or an educational talk to our employees. People love these, and it's part of the really key innovation programs that we do have. Okay, we'll wrap it up with back to you. As I said, I wanted to give you some tips for you to walk out of here with. Now, I know not everybody has the luxury of going big bang into a full Agile transformation. So for those of you that either are maybe just starting an Agile journey, or Agile's even maybe a taboo word in your company, there are a few steps here you can do that will make some big impacts. One, look at stack ranking priorities. If you're a leader and providing priorities, make sure that you're really clear. What is most important to you? It's really hard to do multiple things at once, so make sure it's clear to your people what those priorities are. If you're not a leader, ask your leaders for those priorities and have them become clear. Demo work frequently. You don't have to do full-fledged sprint reviews, but throw a demo day on the calendar or just have your team show the work and get some demos going regularly. And then look to make one improvement in your processes. There are tons of books on retrospectives, or just find a way to figure out if there's one small thing that you can do that makes your team or staff meeting or leadership meeting more efficient. And then for those of you that are looking at a full Agile transformation, we've seen many, and here are like 5 key things that we think are really critical to the success. One is executive buy-in and really active support. If you don't have that, I can almost guarantee that it will not work. That is one thing that we've had. We've had unwavering support from our entire leadership the entire way through. When you're questioning priorities or you're questioning that quality, like let me just get one more feature in, even though it doesn't meet our quality standards. The second they start to waver on those things, it all falls down beneath you. Transformation team. Get a cross-functional transformation team together to really help roll out your transformation. Have them act like a Scrum team. Have a rep from each function. They have a backlog, and they figure out what's most important to roll out to the organization. It creates champions, it spreads the knowledge, and really is a great way to ensure that that is successful. Train everyone. Make sure people are speaking the same language. Invest in the training. Getting people on the same page and all armed with the same tools and information is really critical. Continuous improvement, I've spoken about. You've got to build that in. As I said, our implementation today looks nothing like it did 10 years ago. If we weren't continuously improving, we would not be as successful as we have been. And then invest in coaching. Not everyone may have the luxury of really having a huge investment like we do right now, but to find some sort of coaching, consulting that are really there to help ensure best practices are put in place and that you catch things early before teams start to slide backwards in their practices. So that is all I have for you today. I hope there are a few nuggets in there that you can take away with you and apply in your own day-to-days. We do have about 7 minutes for questions, and there's a mic in the middle of the room if anybody has questions. Yeah, I think we need to use the mic so everybody can hear. Please.
Hi, first question. What are you using for backlog and story management? So I heard that there are app exchanges that can manage and facilitate that. So that's my first question.
Okay, yes, great question. We use our internal tool built on the Force.com platform. It is available in the app exchange. It's called the Agile Accelerator. For those using Jira or Rally or version 1, all very similar, but we do have our own tool built in-house. And it builds in all the Salesforce functionality with reports and dashboards. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Hello. Do you have a recommendation when you don't have a product owner or you have multiple people that feel that they own it but nobody officially owns it?
And what to do in that situation?